Coming to you live from Ursprung Gymnasium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University. Just about ready for another set on the hard court with the OAC here tonight. It's Baldwin Wallace and Ohio Northern in one of the biggest games in the regular season for the Yellow Jackets. I'm Brendan Gulick alongside Jeff Miller. Jeff, we got a game. 14th ranked team in the country from Ohio Northern. They're as good as anybody, but the Yellow Jackets played them in the OAC tournament last year and beat them in Ada.
Not only is it probably BW circled it going into the year, probably the Polar Bears had that circled on for revenge aspects as well. Like we said, the number 1 seed in the OAC tournament, number 10 team in the country, sees BW, who is the number 4 seed, who they beat both times in the regular season, and they upset them by 10 on their own home court. Then BW goes on to the OAC tournament championship game against Mount, where they fell by 10 points.
Yeah, these are probably the 2 women's basketball teams in the Ohio Athletic Conference that have arguably the most respected tradition. Ohio Northern, for the most part, it's been a broad history. For BW, it goes back a couple decades, and they've almost played in the shadows of the Polar Bears the last couple of years. They got off to an 11-0 start this year, but have dropped the last 2 coming in.
Definitely 2 programs that have been at the elite. You know, every year you never know who in the OAC is going to be that team. But lately it's been, Sherry Hare's been here 27 years, so you always expect her to be at the top. But the Polar Bears, Mount Union, Wilmington, those 4 teams this year are the 4 teams to beat again. Never worry about a capital team, but yeah, BW comes out 11-0, gets knocked off in their last 2 games against 2 tough teams in Mount Union and Wilmington. So it's been a little rough patch, and now it doesn't hurt that you got a tough team in the 14th ranked team in the country. So you're going to have to get some that senior leadership out of her 3 seniors. Mackenzie Colombo, the leading scorer at 12 points a game. Sydney Clark right behind her at 11.2. And then Clara Lemon has to work the boards, where she leads at 7.2. And the surprise person this year rebounding is sophomore Hannah Feck, coming off the bench to be the 2nd leading rebounder on this team at 6.3.
Yeah, Baldwin Wallace's depth has been really impressive this year. It's been a big reason why they've gotten off to such a good start. On the Ohio Northern side, 13-0. It's the best start in program history for a team, again, that went to the NCAA tournament last year, even though they didn't win the OAC championship from the OAC tournament. They won the regular season. They went up to Hope College in Michigan. They won their first game against Denison before dropping out of the tournament at the hands of Carnegie Mellon. It's an Ohio Northern team that has lost a little bit from what they had a year ago, but they have the best 3-point shooter in women's college basketball.
Got to look out for Brittany Hawk. You know, it's one of those things that we preach at every game that we talk, that shooting wins this conference, but rebounding probably does too. So going to have a tough challenge making sure that BW finds her. So I'm not sure who's going to be the lockdown person on her. More than likely, it's probably going to be a Hannah Feck that comes off the bench, but starting right out, I'm not sure if it's going to be a Katie Smith. It might be Sydney Clark moving up.
Amy Bullimore, their post player, also really good. In that last game of the season last year in the NCAA tournament, she rose to the occasion. 25 points, 16 rebounds. She's continued to play that well almost all season long. It's the undefeated Polar Bears and your Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets in the game of the night in the Ohio Athletic Conference. Coming up next, we'll hear from head coach Sherry Harer on BWYellowJackets.com. Pre-game coverage continues tonight as the Polar Bears come to town for a big matchup in the OAC. And we sit down with head coach Sherry Harer before the Yellow Jackets take the floor tonight. I know it's a little frustrating because the last couple games haven't gone the way you wanted. It's still been a great season, but this is probably your biggest test to date on a couple of different levels. Obviously, it's a nationally ranked team, but it's a team that has kind of had a stranglehold on the conference the last couple of years. What's the message to the team, overarching message, really, as you get ready for this one tonight?
Well, we have to do it as a team. They have great players. They have the best players in the league. Thus, they're the best team in the league. So we have to figure out how to do it as a team and do it collectively rather than try to win matchups. So
one of the players that I'm sure you're going to look at, she's got to be one of the top couple players in the league because Britt Locke shoots it from beyond the three-point line at this moment better than anyone in the country. 52.4% is the top three-point shooting mark in college basketball. How do you stop her?
I don't think you do. You try to limit her. There's so many weapons. You can't just stop one. That's what makes them so good. You try to stop her, somebody else will light you up for 20. Bullimore will get you for 25. Like, that's what makes them so good. They're so well-rounded. You can't stop just one. So you just try your best to limit. You try your best to play as a team and get stops together. And, yeah, it's a tough handle.
Knowing that it's going to be a challenging game, hopefully you can take some things from the last couple games and build on them. And I know they were frustrating losses, but I think a lot of coaches will say, sometimes it helps when you lose a couple games in the middle of the year after you've been on a roll, because you can refocus and it doesn't feel like we're untouchable. You win 11 straight games to start the season, and then you have a couple setbacks. What were some of the teaching points from these last couple of games?
Well, getting back to playing as a team. We had gotten away from that. We had people trying to do too much themselves, and some attitudes starting to creep in, and hopefully we've fixed that a little bit. Ideally, you don't lose 2 in a row going into this game. Puts us in a tough spot. One, I could see, gets you refocused. 2, we're right now just battling to stay in the top half of the league. And we had hoped to be battling for a championship, and we just got to find a way to battle.
Well, the last time you played Ohio Northern, for what it's worth, you beat them, and you beat them there. So it's not as though this is an unattainable goal this evening. And you obviously have a lot of pieces back from last year's team. The upperclassmen on this team, the Sydney Clarks, the Clara Lemons, the Mackenzie Columbos, how has their leadership role grown throughout the year now that you've had both the high wins and the low losses of the season?
I don't know if it's grown. They were really key for us early on, getting people to buy in. Sid Clark's been playing really well, at least last week. Played really well. We really need those guys to be steady and be able to count on them, just to be consistent. And that's a piece that we hope we can get going. And we need our freshmen to step up and play like they're capable of playing at the same time.
One of those freshmen is a point guard. And I know it can be challenging as a coach when you kind of hand the keys to a freshman point guard and say, okay, we're going to run into battle with you. What is it about the way that Casey Hughes plays that gives you that confidence in her?
Casey's become one of our best defenders. She passes it awfully well. She's battle-tested. She played in a really good league against teams like Beaver Creek and Lakota West. And so she's been through those battles in high school and doesn't back down to anybody. But we've got some other freshmen, too, that we think are pretty darn good. Riley Schill is really good as well, and I said we just need they don't need to be superstars right now, but we need some production out of them. We truly need to 1 through 10. We've got to be better than we've been the last week today.
This is an interesting time of year, right? Because it's still early in January, but now the academic side really starts to ramp up again. You got the start of a semester. As you have gone through now nearly 3 decades as the coach of this program, do you notice any consistencies this time of year where it's either easier than you expected or more difficult for some students than you expected to make sure they can keep their priorities straight?
I think this is the time of the year where some teams rise to the occasion and some teams fall by the wayside. And it's a tough time of the year. You're 12 weeks in or whatever, and it's getting a little old for some people, and you hope that you can get things going and get on a roll yourself and, avoid those doldrums.
In order to rise to the occasion tonight, I know you want to play together as a team, but is there one area in particular that you want to see a really good game out of?
We've got to defend. I mean, we don't have any particular person we need it from, but as a team, we've got to defend. The last 2 games, we didn't defend and rebound, and then we couldn't run. We let Wilmington just tear us apart on the glass, and we couldn't get stops against Mount, and therefore we couldn't get out and run with the basketball, and it hurt us offensively as well. So if we're going to score, we got to get some stops, and it starts on the defensive and rebounding piece for us.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, more pregame after this on BWYellowJackets.com. are just about ready for opening tip tonight as Ohio Northern comes to town to face the Yellow Jackets. Let's give you the starting lineups as this evening's game is just about ready to get underway. Baldwin Wallace will send freshman guard Casey Hughes out at the point. Sydney Clark, the senior forward, gets another start, along with Katie Smith, the junior guard from Fairview Park, senior Mackenzie Colombo, and senior Clara Lemon, all out there at the outset. Colombo, Clark, Lemon, Smith, and Hughes, they have been the starting five every game this season, and it will not change tonight. For the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, who are off to a 13-0 start, it's the best start in school history, but they are no stranger to high rankings across D3 basketball. At guard, a 5'7" senior, Britt Locke. At guard, a junior from Arcadia, Ohio, Courtney Kramer. And both Locke and Kramer are dangerous three-point shooters. Amaria Campbell is a senior from the Cincinnati area. She went to Summit Country Day High School. Jenna Dirksen, a sophomore from Beaver Creek. And junior forward Amy Bullimore, 6'1" in the post. She's very good this season. Second leading scorer at almost 12 points per game and better than 7 rebounds per night. So it's Locke, Kramer, Campbell, Dirksen, and Bullimore for Ohio Northern. Sherry Harrer in her 27th season as the head coach of the Jackets, 538 career wins, 199 losses. Michelle Durand is a 27th-year head coach as well, but she split time between Bluffton and Ohio Northern. She's won 258 games with the Polar Bears, seeking career win 380 here tonight. Our officials, Tony Capasso, Tim Radley, and Ryan Damon, as the Polar Bears go out there in their gray tops with orange numbers and trim, and the Yellow Jackets for the first time all season in their bright gold tops with white and brown numbers and lettering. If you joined us a little bit late, I'm Brendan Gulick alongside Jeff Miller. This is the 14th game of the regular season. We are basically halfway over, and it's the 7th game out of 18 in the Ohio Athletic Conference. The Jackets win the opening tip, and we're off and going inside Ursprung Gymnasium. Yellow Jackets turn it over immediately in the front court, and Ohio Northern takes possession here down the right side. Polar Bears are a very good team when they get in the half court. When they can get set, when the ball goes through the basket, either for either team really, as the Yellow Jackets come up with a takeaway. That's when Ohio Northern is at their best. They are not quite as strong in the transition game, but they are very athletic, and their post players are among the best in all of D3 women's basketball. Colombo outside the left elbow, looking for some help. Sydney Clark on the left wing, guarded by Campbell. Lob to Katie Smith, and she got swatted underneath.
Height advantage there for the Polar Bears. Just looking at the starters, their only guard out there, Kramer, is the shortest player that BW can't match up with.
Britt Locke for two, and it's a 2-0 lead for the Polar Bears as we get underway here early in the first quarter. Baldwin Wallace started the season 11-0. It was among the best starts in school history, but they knew this was going to be a tough game no matter what their record was. And Jeff, you referenced in the pregame, maybe a game that both teams had circled on their calendar for different reasons.
Yeah, a revenge game for the Polar Bears. Let's knock them off again for the Yellow Jackets.
BW has to fire. Lemon for three. It's good. Clara Lemon gives Baldwin Wallace a 1-point edge. School is back in session now in Berea, so got a little bit better crowd here than we had over the last few home games. Ohio Northern, about 2 hours and 45 minutes from Berea. Locke pulls up from the stripe, and she misses it long and left. The nation's leading three-point shooter. Locke has hit 33 of 63. That's 52.5% from beyond the three-point line. Nobody in women's college basketball has a higher mark. BW by one. Casey Hughes, the freshman point guard, giving it away. Sydney Clark wants a triple. She loves that spot on the floor, but missed it short. Bullimore cleared it away, and Locke brings it up the floor. Britt Locke pulls up on the runner, and she got it in, no problem. So Locke's got 4 early points, pronounces her last name L-O-C-K, but it's spelled L-A-U-C-K. Casey Hughes between the rings. Wow, Northern really pressuring Baldwin Wallace around the three-point line in the opening few minutes. Colombo a little out of control, but she found a way to bank it in anyways.
Colombo, who's been mainly the point guard, is now being posted up a little more. But like I said, she's got the edge on Kramer, so you're going to see a lot of that the rest of the game.
Blocked by Lemon. Bullimore's baseline turnaround went nowhere. Smith with a 1-point lead in the forecourt. Clark circles around, gathers the pass in. Diagonal pass back to Lemon. The fake and the drive, and she threw a laser off the window. Ohio Northern coming the other direction. In the left corner, three ball from Campbell is good. Check that, Jenna Dirksen, the sophomore guard, makes it a 7-5 game.
That's what BW's got to watch out for. They're going to focus on Locke being the top three-pointer, but they're going to leave somebody else open that can easily knock it down as well.
Yeah, Campbell is not a bad three-point shooter, but Dirksen and Kramer are also very good. Locke definitely the best of the bunch. Courtney Kramer with a nice pass down to the low post, and one. Jenna Dirksen put in a three, then she's going to have a chance for a three-point play.
Nice vision there by Kramer to find Dirksen. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought who was going through. Dirksen cutting through, and she just laid it off the glass and got the foul. So that's their transition. You say don't play much transition, but that was the best transition. Stop and then turn it into an offensive normal possession.
Locke will stay on the floor. Dirksen hits the free throw and checks out. Angela Tesney takes her spot out there. Tori Wiss and Emily Mesher, a couple of post players, both of them underclassmen checking in, and Lindsay Black, the final player on the floor at the moment for the ladies in gray and orange. Clark wants three, and she missed it a little short right.
Checking in for the Yellow Jackets was freshman Riley Schill and sophomore Hannah Feck.
And Effect, one of the best three-point shooters in the conference in her own right. Circling around, Black gives it away. Angela Tesney gets a high screen. Half the timer has expired. Black gets a very high screen, rolls to the basket, pulls up, and misfired. Effect grabs the rebound. One of the reasons that Ohio Northern is so effective, they take care of the basketball and they distribute it really well. They lead the conference in every category pertaining to assists and turnovers, including the assist to turnover ratio, as Riley Schillbanks went home, making it a 10-7 game. And so far, the Polar Bears have only given it away once in the first 6 minutes. Although now it's twice. That one was more good fortune for BW than anything else, an unforced turnover. Fact, a step-in rhythm three. Clanks it long off the orange.
Just exactly what she needed, just a little strong there. That's her look. Just a quick pop and usually falls, but a little strong there for Feck.
Wisp bounces left side to Black. Locke circles up top. They've defended her nicely. Good look underneath and a whistle drawn on the Yellow Jackets as Emily Mesher was fouled. I think it's on Clara Lemon. Should be her first. Several substitutions here. Locke will sit for the first time. Replaced on the floor by freshman guard Abby Weeks from Mount Notre Dame High School down in southwestern Ohio.
Bentler, Womendorf, and Marshall all check in for the Yellow Jackets.
So 5 reserves on the floor for Sherry Harrer's group. These are two experienced head coaches, Sherry Harrer and Michelle Duran, as the three comes from Weeks. And a long rebound finds Tiffany Bentler. BW could tie it with a 3-ball, and unfortunately they turn it over. Womendorf never handled it cleanly. Sherry Harrer clapping her hands in front of her own bench. She likes her team's defensive effort so far through the first 6.5 minutes of the game.
That's the unselfishness of the Yellow Jackets there too, because Womendorf was hitting herself going, my bad, all the way back down.
Wisp bounces to Black on the left wing. Back to Mesher. Abby Weeks tried to go baseline. And a bad pass into the interior. Tori Wiss never got a good handle on it. One possession game. It was an awkward looking handoff. Turns into a three, but did not fire. Good try from Marshall in the corner.
Talked about the reserves for the Yellow Jackets. The Polar Bears have theirs too, and they just have not done anything since they've been on the floor.
Weeks, top of the perimeter. Denied a driving lane. BW certainly playing with a high level of intensity on the defensive end. Black raises and hits from 10.
Good possession there for the Polar Bears. Weeks went right in and hit a jumper right in front of Feck, who was playing great defense.
Both of these teams are doing a good job getting back defensively. Not seen too many transition opportunities so far, just a couple. Well, a good idea on the shot fake, but Marshall picked up her pivot foot, and she turns it over for the 4th time for the Yellow Jackets. Colombo returns. She's the only new Yellow Jacket on the floor as Riley Schill sits down. And on the other side of things, it looks like Courtney Kramer has come back in for Ohio Northern. Whitlock still on the bench. Kramer got the handoff, passed it away to Mesher. Great denial in the low post. And a foul called on Marshall in the corner. She's had a rough start to the game.
Marshall trying to find her niche back into this rotation. Came out strong as a freshman in those first few games. Kind of had that, freshman struggles and is trying her best. And I think that's the overcompensation, that she's trying so hard to get back into that rhythm.
Bullimore returns for the Polar Bears. It's Sydney Clark back on the floor for the Yellow Jackets. Shot clock never started ticking down. That's enough to frustrate Sherry Harrer, who felt like her defense there had gotten off to a good start that possession. Ohio Northern unbeaten, 13-0. They've had a tremendous season. And honestly, Jeff, they've only had a couple of games decided by less than 10 points. Most of their wins have been runaway wins.
That's veteran coaching on both sides here, but Coach Duran definitely is one of the teams that, she's going to make her teams go at it. She's not one to run it up, but you can't fault them if they put up a big win.
Lock on the right wing. Good look for Bullimore underneath on the mismatch, and she throws it high off the glass for 2. Ohio Northern leads the game 14-7.
Great entry pass there by Dirksen to find Bullimore.
10-4 run for Ohio Northern, and a Polar Bear foul will give BW a baseline inbound.
Just an update in the men's game from Ada. The Ohio Northern Polar Bears lead the BW Yellow Jackets by 2 points at halftime, 43-41. The Yellow Jackets made a strong comeback. They were down by at least 10 points early in that first half, so they made a big run to get back into this game.
You're unfamiliar with the OAC. The women play at one school, the men play at the other. Sydney Clark misses from the left baseline. So in conference, almost universally, the games are played simultaneously, but it's not 100% true all the time. Bullimore in traffic, missed it. Clark tried to get the rebound, and Bullimore actually last touched it out of bounds. Amaria Campbell back out there. She takes the spot of Abby Weeks. Not bad minutes from Weeks. Most of her time spent relieving Brittany Locke, who's obviously now back on the floor. Ohio Northern's gotten off to a decent little start here. The Yellow Jackets not shooting it very well, only 3 of 10, but they're defending okay. Clark needs some help. This is Mackenzie Colombo, who's 25 against Heidelberg, was a Yellow Jacket season high a couple weeks ago. 3 to let it go. Lemon never really looked up at the shot clock. And the Polar Bears force a turnover. Here comes Casey Hughes for Tiffany Bentler.
You can see the distraught by Coach Hare going, hey guys, look at the clock. We know we can't give up unforced errors away that easily. And another matchup, we said this is the key matchup, which it definitely is. The other game is the upstart. It's Wilmington and Muskingum. That's the other, there's a 3-way tie there for second place with 2 losses, and Muskingum and Wilmington right there are going to clear that out too tonight.
And Muskingum team that was not good a year ago. Campbell with 3 to shoot, gives it away. This one's forced and blocked by Hughes. Sydney Clark with her eyes up the floor. Lemon's not afraid to let it go from deep. Shot clock is off here in the tail end of the first quarter. BW hasn't had many single-digit scoring quarters. Clark measures Campbell, raises for 3, and missed it long. That brings the first quarter to a close. Baldwin Wallace connects on only 3 of 11 shots, but they are very much in the game, down only by 7 after 1. Second quarter action coming up next on BWYellowJackets.com. Yellow Jacket women's basketball tonight brought to you by the Hoffman Group. They're an Oswald company and handle all of your insurance and risk management needs. Baldwin Wallace, 27% shooting. Again, they did not shoot it well in the first quarter, but they are hanging in there after some good defensive stops as Campbell tries to open up the second quarter, and she bricks one well off to the left.
A big glaring factor that the Yellow Jackets are going to have to work on. 5 turnovers in that first quarter.
Katie Smith misfires on a triple. Those 5 turnovers turn into 5 Ohio Northern points. Bullimore defended well by Lemon, and so they'll run it back out to the top of the arc. Starting 5 back out there for BW. Locke zings one up top, and Bullimore got fouled by the Yellow Jackets senior post. Baldwin Wallace, an 8-time regular season OAC champion, 6 conference tournament titles, and a team that has tasted success now the last several years. They went to the tournament championship game last year, though they fell. 2 years ago, they won the OAC tournament. 3 years ago, they were the regular season champions. Left-handed layup is good, and Locke continues a nifty start. She's got already a couple of baskets from close to the rim. 6 points for her. It's 16-7 Ohio Northern.
One of the things that in the pregame we talked about, you can't worry about her just shooting threes.
On the other end of the floor, Rachel Wommeldorf gets BW going after having a slow end of that first quarter. So it goes back to a 7-point affair. Bullimore, drop step and a bucket.
Good offensive move there. That's going to be the test for Rachel Wommeldorf the remainder of the game, since Clara Lemon went out with 2 fouls already. Can she keep up with Bullimore down in the block?
Bullimore is a junior, and she's becoming a focal point for the Polar Bears. Great backside screen. It freed up Katie Smith. Laid in an easy bucket for 2.
Dirksen got caught watching, and Katie Smith just slipped right behind her.
Bullimore receives one in the low post. Wommeldorf defends that one better and then boxed her out. Nicely done as Megan Schubert checks in at the scorer's table, likely to replace Rachel Wommeldorf. Hughes kind of forced one up in the air. Looked like it came out of the palm of her hand.
A little bit of Bullimore being right in front of her kind of scared the shorter guard out on that shot.
Early second quarter, BW trails by 7 here at home. Looks like Megan Schubert and Hannah Fecht will both check in. Angela Tesney returns, so does Tori Wiss, the sophomore from Ada.
And Riley Schill from BW just checked in too late.
So Schill, Hughes, and Fecht are all good guards. Katie Smith the veteran guard of the group. Megan Schubert will play in the post.
Conversation we had in pregame, who was actually going to guard Locke, and there it is, Hannah Fecht off the bench, but then she just switched off. Kind of playing a zone man-to-man, though, it seems like they switched back real quick.
5 to go. Locke launches and buries. She's coming off a career-high 21 points, and she's got 9 in the first 13 minutes of this game. Smith with the hesitation move, goes back to the corner. Fecht is open for 3, and she buries one.
That's what BW is going to have to do, is play some great offense in the forecourt and find that wide open shooter and make him knock it down, and that's what Fecht just did.
3 different times this year, Britt Locke has hit the 21-point mark. She had 20 in one additional game. As Schubert nearly blocked it clean, but apparently got the elbow. And that sends Bullimore to the free throw line. That had everybody on BW's bench and several of their fans behind it up in arms.
I thought she had good positioning there. Maybe she got her from our angle, couldn't see her going underneath. Maybe she got her with the body, but no regrets there by Schubert. She's got to shake that one off and say, hey, I played great defense, now I just got to go straight up.
Bullimore hits the first. She's only a 65% free throw shooter. As Casey Hughes checks out of the game. Bullimore taking her time. She is probably on her way to an all-OAC performance by season's end. Hard to argue against what she's done for the best team in the league so far, and she has easily been the most effective post player.
Coach Duran always finds that big post player that's not just a big post player, but very agile and a great scorer.
Foul away from the basketball, at least I thought. Maybe it went on Hannah Fecht. Oh, excuse me, offensive foul. 9-point lead for Ohio Northern. Polar Bears, even though they've turned it over a couple times in the first half, they've connected on 9 of 17 from the floor and both of their 3-point attempts. Dangerous pass into the low post into a couple of yellow jerseys. Locke spins away from Fecht. Crosses her up. 7 on the timer. Black gives to Locke. She has to let it go and never saw the clock. So after BW had a shot clock violation in the first quarter, now it's Ohio Northern who makes the mistake.
And you can see that the Coach Hare and Coach Duran are very similar in their coaching styles. Those simple mistakes eat them up.
It's easy for a coach to look at a mistake like that and say those are inexcusable. Got a foul along the baseline as Bentler tried to drive toward the basket. Unforced errors caused for a lot of sleepless nights.
A lot of clipboard throws, key throws, water bottle kicks. Yes, any coach.
Off the inbound, Bentler wants a 3 and gets it.
And right there, Abby Weeks comes in, picks up the foul, and then gets caught sleeping and lets the 3 get buried right in front of her.
Weeks passes it away to Tesney. She drives, fading away from the basket. Fecht defended that as well as she could. The Yellow Jackets off to the races. Fecht sidesteps the defender and scores.
Just what the Yellow Jackets needed to do to get back in this game, get a little run going.
5 for Fecht as BW climbs in. They're down by 4. Hasn't been this tight since Northern led 9-5.
That's a thing that always happens in all these games, and usually what happens till late.
Fecht swats it right back to Weeks, and she traveled with the basketball. BW's defensive intensity has been really nice here in the first half. Courtney Kramer, a good 3-point shooter, returns for Ohio Northern. About halfway through the second quarter, and it's Baldwin Wallace down by 4 in a matchup with the unbeaten Polar Bears. There's only 14 teams left in D3 basketball who haven't lost. And Ohio Northern is one of only 2 in the Great Lakes region, along with defending national champion Thomas More. On the right side, a little shimmy and a drive. 6 to shoot 1. Fecht saw an opening, and she got tripped. 2 shots coming for Hannah Fecht.
I think Hannah Fecht got bailed out there by a polar bear foul because I think she caught the knee going by because she was really out of control going in. So benefit for the Yellow Jackets. Hopefully she can knock both down. Unfortunate for the polar bears.
The foul's on senior Angela Tesney. This almost feels like a home game for her. She grew up in Medina, which is, well, depending on where specifically in Medina, as near as 20 minutes away, just down I-71. A couple of substitutions. We'll reset the floor for you as Marshall, Schubert, Fecht, Colombo, and Bentler are out there for Baldwin Wallace. And Fecht hits both free throws. It is just a 2-point game. BW on a 7-0 run. And they've put some pressure on Ohio Northern.
I would bet we're going to see Locke within the next 30 seconds to a minute real quick here with 4 minutes left, excuse me.
It seems like almost every game Locke is hitting 3 or 4 3-pointers as she finds her way underneath the basket and misses from point-blank range. She's got 1 3 in this one.
And I apologize, I didn't realize she checked back in.
A chance to tie the game for Colombo and the Jackets. And Mackenzie gets called for carrying the basketball. So BW turns it over for the 7th time. It's been a much better quarter for the Jackets shooting the basketball. Remember, they went 3 of 11 in the first quarter. Well, they're 5 of 8 since that intermission.
And they're protecting the ball a lot better, too. That was just their 2nd turnover of this quarter.
Blocked by Sydney Clark. 4th block of the game already for Baldwin Wallace. All the Jackets are getting involved offensively, and it's going to take that kind of an effort tonight if they want to repeat their performance from the OAC semis last year when they knocked off this polar bear group in Ada.
Sydney Clark's been playing strong the last few weeks on the defensive end. Had 3 blocks last game against Wilmington.
Now that ball was blocked out of bounds, and the shot clock never should have reset, so the officials are over at the table trying to get that straightened out.
What I was trying to say earlier when we got caught up in the play, it's always a dogfight with these 2 teams. And usually, you know, back in the day when there was halves, it was late in the 2nd half. Now it's going to be late in the 3rd, you know, late 3rd, late 4th. You never know when, but somehow there's going to be someone that pulls away.
Baldwin Wallace down by 2, defending here. Black off the inbound, lost the handle, gave it to Kramer. Courtney Kramer. And she gets called the same way Mackenzie Colombo just did less than a minute ago. Sherry Harrer standing there nodding her head saying, okay, if you're going to call my senior guard with it, then just make sure it goes both ways. And in her eyes, it did. Katie Smith holding the rock over her head. Dangerous pass was nearly poked away. 3.5 minutes to go in the first half, and it's been entertaining. Colombo corrals in the high pass. 10 to shoot. Clark backing down. Schubert steps into one. Missed it long. Polar Bears are running. They beat Schubert up the floor, and Bullimore is able to capitalize.
Heads up mid-court pass there by Locke to find a streaking Bullimore who just waited for Schubert to go right by her and then laid it off the glass.
That stops the Baldwin Wallace 7-0 run. Tiffany Bentler looking for some help. Colombo raises just inside the arc, and it was off the side of the rim. Ohio Northern rebounds the basketball and slowly comes up the floor. Final 2.5 minutes of the first half. They redirected underneath and another giveaway. Every time they try to feed Bullimore on a quick 1-2 pass, that seems to be Ohio Northern's biggest kryptonite. But they recover with a takeaway of their own. Here's an in-rhythm 3 and an easy bucket for Jenna Dirksen. I don't care if she's a good 3-point shooter or not on your scouting report, you just can't leave somebody that wide open.
Nice transitions, stop and pop there. She's got 9 points quickly here in the first half.
Only the 12th three in 14 games this season for Dirksen, as Schubert fires one over the top of Amy Bullimore. Back to a 5-point affair. Final minute 45. I've been impressed with the way the Yellow Jackets have defended in the second quarter as Black misses long and right. A short rebound falls to Bentler. And Tiffany nearly turns it over, but Sydney Clark helps the cause. Clark got tied up in the lane. It's a jump ball and stays with Baldwin Wallace. Sydney had a chance to visit with us after the game against Mount Union last week. She told us that she was playing for her mom, who recently lost her mother. Her grandma passed away just over a week ago, and said it was kind of an emotional week for her family, but her mom was able to make the game, and she knew how much it would mean to her if she put on a nice performance, and Sydney could not have played much better for the Yellow Jackets. 30-second timeout called for by the Polar Bears with just a minute 22 left before halftime. Baldwin Wallace trailing by 5. They haven't led the game since the early three-pointer gave them a 3-2 lead. But the fact that they're playing Ohio Northern in a tightly contested affair should give the Yellow Jackets something to feel good about after 2 straight losses.
Coach Hare's going to keep talking them up here in this quick huddle timeout. Ohio Northern's not shooting the ball very well this quarter, and they're turning the ball over. So Coach Duran's probably ready to pull her hair out, because that is not a normal Polar Bear mentality on the offensive end, that they're not keeping the ball, they're not knocking down shots. So they need to regroup here themselves, and BW needs to just keep up the defensive intensity.
Locke and Dirksen, the top 2 scorers. They've combined to hit all 3 threes and each have 9 points. 8 for Amy Bullimore, which means the only other 2 are from Angela Tesney. Speaking of 2, how about a couple free throws coming for the Yellow Jackets? If Katie Smith can hit them both, then she'll make it a 1-possession game. Foul was on Jenna Dirksen. That's her first. Jackets are being out-rebounded by 5 in the first half as Katie Smith connects on her first. BW heading on the road on Saturday. They'll play at Otterbein. Smith buries both of them. It's a 28-25 game. I beg your pardon, it's a Friday game, not Saturday. It's the one schedule anomaly for BW this year. They're playing Friday at 7:30 in Westerville. Then they got 4 straight home games. Final minute of the first half. Yellow Jackets trying to snap a 2-game losing streak after the 11-0 start. But they're trying to do that against the best team they've played all year, and Kramer way off on her 3. Fecht gives over to Hughes. Riley Schill is in trouble. Wommeldorf with 15 to shoot. Gives it away.
No true point guard on the floor right now for the Yellow Jackets. It's Katie Smith and Casey Hughes.
5 seconds to go. Katie Smith missed it. That never hit the rim, and Wommeldorf missed it. And the rebound tipped out of bounds, but it's a shot clock violation. 2 really good looks for BW, and neither one of them went home.
Tough there that, you know, you get a good look, but can't even get it to go off the glass. And then unfortunately, it goes off the Polar Bears, but no rim. So there was the 30-second shot clock.
So the shot clock is off here for the final 20 seconds of the first half. Ohio Northern has basically led this game wire to wire, with the exception of just one quick 1 minute. A turnover. BW with 5 seconds left. Gets it to Fecht. And Fecht got it off in time, but it's off to the left.
Unfortunate there. Fecht was looking back to see where the Polar Bear defender was going to come and didn't really set. I think if she set, she buries that.
Halftime inside Ursprung Gymnasium. Thanks to a really good second quarter for BW. They have climbed back in the game and trail only by 3 after just a 7-point first quarter. Ohio Northern 28, Baldwin Wallace 25. Halftime numbers coming your way shortly on BWYellowJackets.com. Today's Yellow Jacket women's basketball game is brought to you by Medical Mutual of Ohio, the official healthcare provider for Baldwin Wallace University, by the Comfort Inn in Middleburg Heights, where comfort is just a part of the service we provide our guests, and by the Cleveland Clinic Sports Health Division, the official healthcare provider for BW Varsity Athletics. 28-25, Ohio Northern leads Baldwin Wallace at halftime in a game pitting the top two teams in the OAC against each other for the first of two affairs here in the OAC regular season slate. Ohio Northern led by Britt Locke and Jenna Dirksen, who each cashed in 9 in the first half. They connected on all three of the teams' made three-point baskets. Amy Bullimore had 8 points, and she did a good job underneath the basket, rebounding the basketball a couple of times as well. But she missed 3 shots, Jeff, and I think that's where you give the credit defensively to BW. Bullimore is typically very good when she's within 5 feet of the hoop. And BW made it tough on her.
No doubt about it there. She missed a bunny, no doubt about it, on her own that she should have hit. But I think the other two that, she's down there, she was getting very contested. Everybody's been down there. Rachel Wamendorf's been playing tough. Clara Lemon, who missed most of the second quarter, played her tough in that first quarter and beginning of that second quarter. So she's seen different looks and different styles of players. So those 3 missed shots might be credited to seeing 3 different players. The one was really wide open and she didn't hit it.
We talked in the pregame about BW's depth being important for them. It is especially important tonight. 16 of Baldwin Wallace's 25 points came from reserves in the first half. In fact, the starting 5, Smith, Colombo, and Lemon, the only ones that even hit baskets from the floor.
And they scored 9 points to starters. So key to BW has always been, if somebody, it's the next man up. I don't want to use their next woman up, don't want to take the Cavaliers terminology that they used last year, next man, next person up. But Coach Hare has always been that in her 27 years. Somebody's not going to have a good night, and your star players, there isn't one that there's this year that she's mentioned that many times this year, that there's not just that one person on this team that's the go-to person. So next man up.
BW played much better offensively in the second quarter, connecting on 6 of 14 shots after hitting just 3 of 11 in the first quarter. Ohio Northern basically played an identical first 10 minutes as they did through the second 10, with still 20 minutes ahead of us here tonight. Jackets are down by 3, despite the fact that they're not playing their best basketball tonight. Do they have enough to knock off the 14th ranked team in the country? Find out with the second half coming up shortly on BWYellowJackets.com. Tonight's Yellow Jacket basketball game is brought to you by American International. When you require a company with proven performance, you can rely on American International. And by the Crown Plaza in Middleburg Heights. If you're looking for a place to stay and a quality place at that, before or after any Yellow Jacket game, choose the Crown Plaza just up the street from campus. Baldwin Wallace trailing by 3 as we start the second half, 28-25. But they are very much alive in this game against an undefeated team in Ohio Northern. If you're tuning in a little late, alongside Jeff Miller, I'm Brendan Gulick, and the second half has just started here in Berea. Balanced scoring from Baldwin Wallace. It's been basically a three-man wrecking crew for Ohio Northern, if you can even really call it that. Bullimore sets an awfully high screen for Kramer, who has done nothing today. She's been held scoreless. 5 to shoot for Locke. She kicks out into Sydney Clark, a turnover. Hughes found Colombo, who faked and drove. Fortunate bounce, rolled the BW, and then a travel.
That was a great poke away by, that was Dirksen that knocked it away from Colombo streaking, but went right to Lemon, but she was falling down as she caught it, so turnover there. I was going to say before that's not the way Coach Duran wanted to start the second half. They were late coming out of the locker room here. Literally only like 2 minutes left before the clock was going to come down. Did they come out of the locker room?
Polar Bears must have had a long discussion about how to attack BW in half number 2. Campbell back to Kramer. Locke is open for 3. She is money and misses there. The nation's leading three-point shooter missed it short badly, and it turns into an easy deuce for Hughes, in large part because Locke fell over and couldn't get back.
I think Locke was looking for the foul because Hughes is the one that bumped her as she hit it, and then she just let sit there and didn't get up, and Hughes went streaking down the floor.
She tries to atone for her error and misses the easy layup. So a tough start to the second half for Britt Locke. Meanwhile, Clark makes an athletic play. Lemon drives and can't give BW its first lead since the very early part of the game.
A problem that's been for the Yellow Jackets all year has been able to knock down the easy layup. Right there, Lemon was going in uncontested and couldn't even knock it down again.
Colombo underneath, and she's gonna shoot 2. Bullimore smiling, probably sarcastically. I don't think she liked the fact that she just picked up her first foul. And Mackenzie Colombo, who is, if not the best, since Hannah Fecht is technically by the percentage, 8 out of 9. She's got the highest percentage on the team, but you can make the argument Mackenzie Colombo is the best free throw shooter for the Jackets. She ties the game here, and with one more, could give Baldwin Wallace its first lead since 5-4. And she does. So BW with 4 quick points to start the second half. And it's a whole new ball game.
We'll agree with you on the Colombo aspect. She goes to the line a heck of a lot more than Feck does. And I mean, I think that one game she was 12 of 14, or you know, I mean, I know last year I think she went to the line against in that Mount Union game. I think she was 16 of 17.
Amaria Campbell was fouled before shooting, and it's assessed to Mackenzie Colombo. Jackets will guard the perimeter tightly all game. Kramer kicks away, 3-ball. Dirksen rattles out, no good. And a foul on Ohio Northern. It's on Kramer. BW ahead by 1, and they're starting to feel some of that energy, even though there is a whole bunch of basketball still out in front of us. Early third quarter, great feed to Katie Smith, but she missed the bunny. Bullimore clears the carom. Good defense from Lemon, denying Locke a driving lane. Kramer circling around. Bullimore had a step on Lemon and then just stopped going at it. Instead, it turns into a 3-ball, and it missed once again from Dirksen. A little surprising there, though Katie Smith gives it back after dribbling off her foot. Lindsey Black will replace Dirksen, who's misfired a couple times here to start the second half.
0 for 4 to start the second half for the Polar Bears after going 11 of 28 or 11 of 24 in the first half. 0 for 4 right now. Coach Duran is not very happy sitting over there right now.
Couple of games around the OAC. It's halftime in Muskingum. The Wilmington Quakers and Muskingum Muskies in a 5-point game. Wilmington leads 32-27. Those two teams are tied with BW for second place in the league behind the Polar Bears. Kramer releases, and when she's that open, she is automatic. They'll wait for just a second to reset the netting. It was so pure, the net flipped back up through the rim.
Good way for the Polar Bears to get off the schneid there, knock down a 3 and regain the lead.
Kramer's first basket of the whole game. One of the top 3-point shooters in the OAC puts it through. Colombo made a pass only a couple feet away from it. Hughes with 10 to go. Jump pass to the corner. 4 on the shot clock. Hughes has to hurry. Step back triple. Too short.
She threw that up there and kind of gave that back step like it was good, and she was running back.
Locke picks up the tempo and scores in traffic. Nice move. 11 points for the leader of the Polar Bears. Hughes, the freshman from Springboro. It's about 20 minutes south of downtown Dayton. Big, beautiful high school in Springboro. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Sydney Clark got a screen from Lemon, though it didn't really stop Campbell. The screen was set directly behind her. And nevertheless, Clark will shoot a couple of free throws. In our pregame conversation this afternoon with head coach Sherry Harrer, she talked about the fact that Hughes competed at such an important level in that high school down in Springboro. She said, look, it's not a big deal for me to say, yeah, we'll let a freshman play point guard, because she's used to competing against some really good competition down in the greater Cincinnati and Dayton areas.
And really, I mean, yes, she's going to be probably the point guard of the future along with Riley Schill. You don't know, but she's getting to grow into it more because Colombo is the point guard out there. So she gets to handle the rock, but it's Colombo's show while she's on the floor. But, yeah, you can't beat the experience that these three to 4 or 5 freshmen have been getting. Right now you got all 3 of them on the floor.
And they're into a full court press after Clark's 2 free throws cut it to a 2-point hole for Baldwin Wallace. Ohio Northern has only had 2 tight games all year. 11 of their 13 wins have come by double digits. Bullimore, that's too easy.
Pretty little jumper right over the top of Lemon in the paint there.
Amy Bullimore has 10 points. Fecht gives it away. Hughes looking for some help. Back to Fecht. Hannah's denied the baseline and then airballed it short.
Solid defense there by the Polar Bears. You can just see the switch has just come in the last 2 minutes by the Polar Bears. They're looking to just knock the Yellow Jackets right out of the gym.
Kramer got into Bullimore and she missed it, fading away over the top of Clara Lemon. BW down by 4. Fecht, great fake. Back a trail pass, and Bentler's 3 is too short. Good defense from Lemon. She comes up with the loose ball. Clara Lemon probably having her best defensive performance of the season today.
She's playing strong down low for sure, so she needs to keep doing that and not worry about the offensive end and just worry about just locking down the Polar Bears.
Riley Schill, quick, explosive move. She beats Kramer off the dribble. 2-point game, 4 points now for Riley Schill. Final 4 minutes of the third quarter. Bullimore, little up and under move, and the rim is unkind. Clara Lemon gets the rebound for the Yellow Jackets. Baldwin Wallace looks a little bit winded at the moment. Moving up the floor just a little slower on that rebound and move.
That's why you see 3 players ready to check back in for both teams.
Bentler holds the rock and drives. Lemon for three. It hit the front side of the rim and bounced over.
One of the most unusual three-pointer shots by any player you ever see, but they go in. She looks more like she just stays put on the ground and throws it up in the air.
Lindsey Black fouled on her way to the rack. Goes on Hannah Fecht, who looks back into the middle of the paint where her teammates are standing and is explaining how she thought they should have been lined up defensively. We're about to get 5 in, 5 out for Baldwin Wallace.
And there's a barn burner going down in Ada right now. The Polar Bears lead the Yellow Jackets 79-77 with 1:21 left to play in regulation.
Of course, that's the men's game. We've talked several times during our men's broadcasts that the OAC this year seems to be as balanced as it's been in maybe a decade. Marietta, the preseason favorites along with John Carroll, but both of those teams have lost twice already in the early going. And it seems like it could be anybody's conference, although it's always tough to go to Ohio Northern. 37-33.
Could be a letdown for the men Polar Bear team tonight because they knocked off that Marietta team who was 13th in the country on Saturday in Ada. So
they also knocked off John Carroll. They beat both of those two teams. Colombo almost fouled as she bounced it to Smith, who jump stopped into Abby Weeks' outstretched arms. It stays on that half of the floor. Final 3 minutes of the third quarter. Baldwin Wallace trailed only by a couple at halftime, and it's essentially been a stalemate here in the third quarter. Colombo needs help. She gets it into Clark. Sydney Clark muscles it up and one! Sydney Clark with a strong move. A chance to cut it to one. Clark is as calm and collected at the free throw line as any of the Yellow Jackets, and she easily puts that one home.
Clark, who's been the shining aspect of the last two losses with 20 points and 19 points in those two games, so she's been playing some of her best basketball the last week.
37-36. And one the other way. Emily Mesher going to the free throw line after banking one over the top of the defense.
Great entry pass there by Locke, and no thought by Mesher. Went right up, put it off the glass, got the foul, looking for the three-point play.
Mesher's free throw didn't fall in, but Abby Weeks pulls in the offensive rebound. She throws it away to Kara Marshall. Marshall, good ball control. They swing to Colombo. Wide open, but she missed it. It fell to Marshall, and she mishandled it, but wow, it tipped off a Polar Bear out of bounds.
I don't think she so much mishandled it. She was about ready to go up, and great defense from behind by a Lock that knocked it off her. I don't know how it's BW's ball, but that's why we're up here.
Colombo looking to inbound. Wommeldorf gets it right back to her. Look how hard Rachel's working in the low post. Now she sets a screen. Just over 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and we've got a really good game on hand. Marshall wants a three. It was halfway down before popping free.
That would have been a good shot for her to get off the schneid.
Locke had one thing on her mind, and she scores. 41-36.
Yeah, I think it's Locke's about ready to say this is going to be it. We're taking this game back to Ohio Northern.
Sherry Harrer wants a timeout, and she'll ask for a 30-second stoppage. 13 points leads all scorers. Britt Locke has had a nice first half. Or I should say a nice first half, but kind of cooled off in this third quarter. It's only 4 points now since the halftime intermission.
And just a quick update in the men's game. Ohio Northern slowly pulling away here, 81-77 with 27 seconds left. A lot of time left in that one after we saw here in the tournament with that Worcester squad that scored 5 points in 7 seconds.
I got a better one for you. Did you see what happened earlier this week between New Mexico and Nevada? The Nevada Wolfpack, for the first time ever, went to New Mexico and won at the pit. They were down 11 points with 55 seconds left and went to overtime. and won the game in overtime. It was one of the most thrilling ends of a basketball game I've ever seen, and I'm sure you can find those highlights online if you're interested. Nevada and New Mexico. Anyways, back here on this hard court, Sydney Clark has it with 12 to shoot. Jackets have only hit 3 field goals in the third quarter. 4 to let it go. Colombo gives up to Lemon, and she hits a 3. 2-point game.
That standing shot put, throw it up, and it goes in. I don't know. I couldn't say if I was a coach that I would ever want my player to shoot like that, but don't take anything away from her. She knows how to shoot.
Beautiful pass from Locke underneath to Dirksen, who was even more impressive by extending her arms and protecting the ball with her body. She scores to make it a 4-point game.
Looked like a good wide receiver and going out there and reeling it in.
Ohio Northern has answered basically every time BW has gotten something exciting. Colombo's 2-pointer pops out. Offensive rebound keeps the possession alive as Kara Marshall traveled with the basketball.
Good offensive rebound there. She tried to just get one extra step, and she got caught by the back official.
Lots of new faces on the floor. Weeks, Bullimore, Dirksen, Campbell, and Locke for Ohio Northern. Smith, Lemon, Fecht, Schill, and Hughes for the Yellow Jackets. About a 2.5-second difference between game and shot clock here. Campbell works to Locke, right side, great defensive pressure. BW's been so active away from the basketball defensively. 6 to go and an offensive foul.
Good slide there by the freshman Schill.
Man, was that impressive.
They ran the same play that they have been, and Locke, give her the credit. She sees that opening, but Riley Schill just slid right underneath her and took the charge.
Gotta let it go. And she got it at the buzzer. Riley Schill steals the show the last 30 seconds of the third quarter. Baldwin Wallace trails only by 2. Schill has 6. 10 exciting minutes still in front of us. It's Ohio Northern's undefeated record on the line. 2-point game from Berea. Tonight's Yellow Jacket women's basketball game is brought to you by Parkway Auto Care in Berea, Strongsville Express Tire and Automotive, and Montville Express Tire and Automotive. We serve the southwestern suburbs of Greater Cleveland. Also brought to you by Valley Ford Truck. If you need a big job done right, call Valley Ford Truck. We carry the load for BW. Well, it was Riley Schill carrying the load for the Jackets in the final 30 seconds of the third quarter on both ends of the floor. She's made this a 2-point game with her bucket right before that third quarter buzzer. BW a chance to tie it, but not with that big block underneath. Jenna Dirksen swatted it out of bounds. It stays with BW, 16 on the timer.
Great transition there, defense, offense, and then you get the possession to start the fourth quarter. Nothing new for Riley Schill, as she was the Lorain County Miss Basketball last year, and you know, she's pretty impressive academically and athletic. She graduated 4th in her class from Elyria Catholic High School.
Hughes back to Schill. Too short. She runs down her own offensive rebound. Riley Schill just wants it more than anybody else. 2-point game, early fourth quarter. Ohio Northern 13-0, best start in program history. It stays with BW after the deflection out of bounds. BW's 11-0 start has come to a screeching halt with back-to-back losses to Mount Union and Wilmington in their last two conference affairs after not losing a whole game in the 2016 portion of the calendar. Riley Schill, couple of fakes. Three ball from Katie Smith is good! BW leads by 1.
They weathered the storm, but now let's see what the Polar Bears end up doing here, because we said they seem to match every time and go on a little bit of run to get their little cushion back.
Chance of defense behind the team. You can feel the anxiety in the building as Bullimore lost the handle out of bounds. Katie Smith hits a big three-pointer. She hangs out in the left corner at the moment. Hughes back to Schill. She was open for just a split second. A lot of game left. Fecht denied a driving lane with 3 to shoot it. Has to hurry. Hughes sees it. She missed it short. Baldwin Wallace scurries back defensively.
Look at the hustle by Coach Hare to get on the floor to take away the headband that fell off of Katie Smith.
Couple of free throws coming as Locke heads to the free throw line. Wish we had a replay of that. She was hauling over there to make sure that nobody slipped and fell on the black headband that had popped off.
I guess you preach, you coach what you preach, and you go right out there and tell them to hustle. And I think she should go in the locker room telling you, I know none of you saw that on the defensive end, but you need to hustle like this.
Katie Smith leaves the floor as Tiffany Bentler returns. Second free throw good as well, and Locke continues a really nice day. She's looking for her 5th 20-point game of the year. Her career high is 21. She did that for the 3rd time this season, last time out in a win at Marietta. Ohio Northern back on top by 1, and that one was lost out of bounds. Schill the last to touch it, so it's a turnover.
She went in there pretty strong and then met the Polar Bear defense, and I think she got the ball blocked with it, and then her possession just threw it all the way out.
2.5 minutes already gone in the 4th quarter. Locke on the right wing, trying to run away from the defense, forces a shot up. It was a poor attempt from Britt Locke.
Not what you want out of your veteran leadership there, to throw up a prayer that wasn't, she had plenty of time to still kick it back out.
Casey Hughes was fouled. She was starting to fall over, and it was because Britt Locke fouled her. 3rd on Locke. Sydney Clark back for Hannah Fecht. And Locke will check out of the game as Courtney Kramer checks back in. Now here comes Mackenzie Colombo as well.
And the update from the men's game, Ohio Northern hangs on for the 86-77 win against the Yellow Jackets. So half the road's done for the Polar Bears. Now they just got to hope their counterparts here pull out the victory.
Sydney Clark goes back to the top of the arc where Colombo swings it around. Lemon has hit 1 3. Doesn't shoot a lot of them, but she'll let it go if she's open. This is Lemon in the low post, and she was fouled by Bullimore. Bullimore asking, maybe telling more than asking, as she argues her case on the foul. Her second, team second. In fact, we've had very few free throws all game long. 3 is good from Colombo. 47-45. BW back up by 2. It's Baldwin Wallace's largest lead of the game. They've had a few of them, but all of them have been 1-point advantages.
Now we're getting some of the ticky-tacky fouls that, you know, in a tight game, players are going to try to play tight, and the little bumps are getting called.
That's probably more just to get an encouraging talk from Michelle Durand. Megan Schubert, Katie Smith, both return. Clark, Colombo, and Schill, or rather Bentler, rounded out for BW. Bentler defends the inbound. Dirksen hands it off. It's Emily Mesher who just checked back in. Tough shot, didn't go in for Dirksen. Mesher back to Dirksen for an open 15-footer and a third opportunity for the ladies from Ada. Good ball rotation around the perimeter. 6 minutes to go in regulation. A fake from Dirksen. Clark all over her. Mesher bullies Megan Schubert but missed the layup. And Baldwin Wallace finally pulls down a rebound after the fourth shot from Ohio Northern.
I don't think Mesher realized that she was going to be able to get by that cleanly, and then it was a little strong with that layup.
BW by 2 as Colombo goes back to Smith. Just a little long, though it was dead on.
That would have brought the crowd to its feet. The student section, which is now just the track team here at BW, has been on their feet ever since the Colombo 3.
Sherry Harrer said we need to be a true team tonight if we're going to beat Ohio Northern. Well, the Yellow Jackets have 3 players leading the way with 7 points, 2 more with 6, and all but 1 of the 10 that have seen the floor have cashed in at least 1 field goal. BW's formula is working, but there's still 5:25 left in regulation. Baldwin Wallace basketball continues with 5.5 minutes to go in regulation. BW trying to pick up easily their biggest win of the season. It would not only be their marquee win of 2017, but it would be a win over an undefeated Ohio Northern program, one of just 14 teams left in D3 college basketball who still haven't lost. More than 440 compete at this level. 5 to shoot for Locke, who leads all scorers with 15. 1 blocked partially. It never hit the rim. I think Sydney Clark may have deflected the path of the ball on its way through.
2 possessions that I've noticed in this game that Locke, it does not pay attention to the shot clock. She had the opportunity to go up for a 3 and probably bury it, but took the extra pass, and then that forced a quick shot.
Ohio Northern 0 for 6 shooting in the fourth quarter. They do not have a shot from the floor, just 2 free throws from Locke. BW leads by 2. Lots of game left. 5 on the timer. Colombo with Kramer all over her, lost the ball. And that is also a shot clock violation. So ONU's defense steps up in a big spot.
They started slow in the third quarter. They're starting slow in the fourth quarter. Can BW weather the rest of the 4 minutes here and pull off their second straight upset of the polar bear, ranked polar bear team?
Ohio Northern lost in the semifinals of the OACs last year at the hands of the Yellow Jackets. Swatted out of bounds by Lemon. You know, some players make a big play like that and they yell or they get juiced up. Clara Lemon just smiles. She's having so much fun.
She smiles on a turnover. She smiles on a block shot. She always is constantly smiling.
I'll tell you what, I apologize. She got called for a foul. It certainly looked to me like it was blocked out of bounds, but I guess Britt Locke is going to go to the free throw line, so she hits her first. My mistake.
Well, Brendan, I thought she blocked it out of bounds too. She must have caught her with the body because it was a bunched up group down the paint. I thought it was a clean block too.
Maybe that's the reason for the smile after all. Lock ties the game at 47 apiece. She's got 17. We're late in the fourth quarter at this point. Bad pass, and Tiffany Bettler costs BW an opportunity. The defensive effort from Baldwin Wallace tonight has forced 14 Ohio Northern turnovers. That's more than their season average. And they've got the best assist to turnover ratio in the country, or rather one of the best. They're top 10. As Kramer pulls up just inside the right elbow. It's a little too long. They have 6 assists and 14 turnovers tonight. That is very unlike Ohio Northern. Riley Schill measuring up the defense. She's played a really important role tonight, especially late in the third quarter. Schill has 6. 7 to shoot. Hughes back to Fecht. She'll try a 3. It's good! 50-47 BW. 10 points for Hannah Fecht leads the Jackets. Lemon going straight up to defend Bullimore. Nice play in the low post.
No worries by the Polar Bears on that possession. A lot of time, we're just going to play our game and not worry. We're not going to match 3 for 3.
BW by 1. Lemon threw a bad pass over Fecht's head. And BW has to go back to the other end, but not before they'll retalk things in a timeout huddle.
Before we take it with them, BW hangs on to this. They're going to be tied with Wilmington still in second place. Right now, Wilmington's all over Muskingum, 56-39 with 8 minutes left to go. So there's a lot to be at stake here. Wilmington to be in second place by themselves after tonight, or it could be Muskingum or Wilmington and BW. So all games still behind the Polar Bears if this stays pat.
Wilmington just beat Baldwin Wallace on Saturday, 59-53. Back in a moment with a final 2:45 from Ursprung Gymnasium. Baldwin Wallace with a 1-point lead, trying to knock off right now the team that is the class of the OAC. Ohio Northern went to the NCAA tournament last year and won a game on a neutral site floor up at Hope College before bowing out in the second round. They are only a couple years removed from an 18-0 run through the OAC. So far this year, as Clark defends one away, Ohio Northern is unbeaten. One of only 2 teams in the region yet to lose. BW's playing great defense though. Can they cash in off the turnover? Sydney Clark raises and misfired. Ohio Northern has 1 basket from the floor in the fourth quarter. It was the Bullimore layup just a minute ago. She nearly double dribbled there. Locke, mid-range jumper is pure.
I was going to say both teams are playing great defense on both ends. Who's going to be able, and nerves are starting to set in a little bit. You can see a little passes that aren't as crisp. You know, it's just who's going to come down this last minute 45 with the win. 19 for Locke, 2 away from hitting 21 points for the 4th time this season. That is her career high. Final minute and a half of regulation. Sydney Clark for 3. A little too strong. Both teams with still timeouts at their disposal. Bullimore had space on Lemon and a beautiful up and under. You don't get that very often in women's basketball where a big man has that much control coming with a reverse layup.
14 for Bullimore. Still a one-possession game. Riley Schill, a deep 2, and it's good. 1-point effort.
I was just about to say, before that basket went in, BW has got their sharpshooters on the bench, or coming in. Effect is ready to come back in.
Kramer bounces to Bullimore, who nearly lost it. Open look, she is deadly, and it's good. The nation's best three-point shooter comes up in an enormous way, and she's got a new career high with 22, and more importantly, puts Ohio Northern ahead for a 2-possession lead with just over 40 seconds to play.
And referees not going to be a factor in a game this close at the end. They could have easily called Casey Hughes with a check foul on Locke as she hit that, because she came out on her heart and bumped her as that fell down.
If you're Baldwin Wallace, I don't think you need to rush a 3 yet. You got to get an opportunity that looks good, but you don't want to get into a free throw shooting game with Ohio Northern tonight. They've hit 9 of 10. Not that the Yellow Jackets have struggled. They've hit 9 of 9. It's been basically a perfect free throw night for both squads.
I think there in the timeout by Coach Hare, exactly. Let's get the hoop. If that 3 is wide open, take it, but don't force it. Let's get a basket, play some D, and come back and hit the 3 to win it.
Schill, Colombo, Fecht, Lemon, and Bentler. Colombo is open. It's too long. Fecht trying to run it down and does. The shot clock is off, and BW's down 2 possessions. Schill wants a 3. Didn't go in, and it's off of Clara Lemon.
That was the unfortunate thing there, that they didn't get that possession, and then they thought they needed the 3. A lot of time came off down this stretch here.
BW needs a steal or a foul, and it's Hannah Fecht committing the violation. Kind of heartbreaking, considering that Baldwin Wallace hit a 3-point shot just a couple of minutes ago to give them a 50-47 lead. That shot came from Hannah Fecht at the 3:20 mark. The BW has been silent offensively since then. Hard foul in the backcourt with just under 14 seconds. The only basket since Fecht's 3 is Riley Schill's 2-point bucket at the 1-minute mark. Sydney Clark missed a 3. She missed a 2-point shot. And the Yellow Jackets have also turned it over once in that stretch.
That was the 4th foul on Casey Hughes. In a tight game between very 2 talented teams. That's 25th foul. That's not bad for in a game that's this tight and how close they're playing each other.
Timeout, Baldwin Wallace, and they will choose to advance the ball past the midcourt line after this break. Both free throws count, and it's a 58-52 game. It's not over, but BW has their back very much against the wall against Ohio Northern. Now, again, this would just be a tough loss for BW to take because of the way they fought back in the game. But again, if you lose to an unbeaten team who has proven to be as good consistently as they've been so far this season, there's nothing to hang your head about. And we'll see if the Yellow Jackets can come up with some late game magic. Fecht to inbound. Schill. Right back to Fecht. Colombo is wide open for 3, and she hits it. That's a mistake by the Polar Bears. Now Colombo commits the foul, and you've got to hope that Lindsey Black misses both of these and keeps it a 1-possession game. I'm surprised she was left that wide open.
I think everybody, including myself, watched where Hannah Fecht was going. She inbounded it. I thought they were going to quick turn around and let her pop. She then saw the defense coming and saw a wide open Colombo.
Black is only a 63% shooter from the line, but it doesn't matter after hitting that first one, which was easily the biggest free throw of her season so far. She got them both to make it a 5-point game. And BW wants another timeout. Hard to blame Sherry Harrer for taking the stoppage. Trying to draw something up here. Sherry Harrer is, I believe, asking if they can advance the ball.
And I think they are, and I'm confused. I thought they were allowed to do it one time in the NCAA in the final 2 minutes. If you call and you can advance it once, maybe it is twice then. I'm not sure, but I thought it was only one time, so I'll have to look that one up after tonight and make sure that that is the case. Obviously, they're doing it, so.
6 seconds to go. Ohio Northern by 5. Colombo needs to get a good inbounds pass in. Fecht shoots it uncontested, essentially. It doesn't matter, and the putback is off the mark. It's a frustrating way for Baldwin Wallace to finish off this game. They lose to Ohio Northern by a final score of 60-55. But Jeff, this was a game that maybe BW can keep in the back of their memory. I know it hurts to lose one, but to know you were that close to knocking off the most impressive team in the conference so far, hopefully should give them some momentum going into next week.
Kudos to the team. You know, you want them to keep their head up, but 3 in a row is 3 in a row. But yeah, you can look at it and go, all right, we're here, we can come back at this one.
Final score, Ohio Northern 60, Baldwin Wallace 55. We'll hear from head coach Sherry Harrer in just a minute on BWYellowJackets.com. Welcome inside our post-game coverage of the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets, who unfortunately fall tonight by a final score of 60-55. We're joined by head coach Sherry Harrer. And Sherry, I know this is a frustrating way to end the game because you had a 3-point lead there late. What do you think happened there with the lack of made shots the last couple of minutes?
Well, I mean, bigger than that, we had some bad defensive, like where our goal was to pressure the ball. And when it mattered most, we didn't get ball pressure. They got it inside on us, got some easy buckets, and that really was bigger than the offense.
I know you talked pregame with me about having to really play a true team game, and I thought for 38 minutes that really played out. You had great balanced scoring. No one player made a big difference tonight. Do you at least take that as a positive tonight?
Oh, absolutely. If we play like this the last 2 games, that's our first loss. And that's what's most frustrating is we're capable of this all the time. We gotta get going again. Like we can't keep this loss record. Like this was a good effort tonight, and if we can get that same effort, we'll be fine.
Well, we appreciate your time. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you, Brendan.
All right, we'll have more when we come back on BWYellowJackets.com. It's our post-game wrap-up here from Baldwin Wallace University after the Ohio Northern Polar Bears held off the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets by a score of 60-55. Baldwin Wallace with a great effort at the end of the game, Jeff, and it just kind of fell short by the final buzzer. Look, you just heard it from Sherry Harrer, a good effort, and it just didn't have quite enough tonight.
Good effort all around. So, like she said, we play that way the last 3. This is the 3rd loss in a row, and you don't want to hear that from a coach, but if we play that way against Mount Union and Wilmington as an overall team, we're 13-1.
Yeah, it's tough to swallow for Baldwin Wallace, but again, I hope that there's enough positives that they can take away from a game tonight where they had one of the top teams in college basketball right on the ropes. Ohio Northern escapes. They are 14-0 and 7-0 now in conference. BW drops their third in a row after an 11-0 start, so they're 11-3 with a 4-3 mark in the OAC. Leaders for BW tonight, Hannah Fecht and Mackenzie Colombo both had 10. Of course, Fecht came off the bench. She was quiet in the second half. She had 7 in the first 20 minutes, but was really calmed down a little bit in that second half, and I think it had a lot to do with what BW did to her around the perimeter.
For sure, she hit one big one here in the second half to give them that. I think it was her that hit to give them the lead again late there, but I think she played. Her offense was only 10, but she played very well, trying to get through. She was on lock a few times, so locking her down. So we talk about it. It's maybe not the tangibles that you see in the box score, but Hannah Fecht has upped her game this year all around. I mean, like we said in the pregame, she's the second leading rebounder, and she comes off the bench.
My MVP tonight for BW, Riley Schill, thought she played 19 superb minutes tonight. 3 assists, 8 points on 4 of 6 shooting. She took a charge. She had great energy. She played really well beyond the perimeter defensively, bothering Britt Locke and making it tough. Even though Locke came up with 22 to reestablish a new career high tonight, it was not an easy night for her.
Definitely not. And Riley Schill is showing more and more why she probably, I mean, we talk about Casey Hughes being in here, could be the heir apparent to Colombo. She's showing me more and more each game that she's going to be that starting point guard next year with Hughes on that. I mean, we're going to have a very good team for the future for many years here. But yeah, in a minute span, she gets a charge, gets a bucket at the buzzer, then comes back in and gets the possession. You know, on that, not only what you said, 2 offensive rebounds from a 5'6" guard.
Yeah, she certainly played like she wanted it more, and you love players with that kind of a motive. Locke led all scorers with 22. She had 3 assists, but turned it over 4 times. A really tough night for Ohio Northern in that regard. They had 15 turnovers and 7 assists. They were top 10 in the country in assist to turnover ratio entering tonight, and tonight was one of their worst nights of the year in that regard. Locke had 4 rebounds as well. Courtney Kramer was limited to just 1 of 4 shooting. She had 6 rebounds and an assist. Amy Bullimore, 6 of 11 from the floor, 14 points, 3 boards. Jenna Dirksen had 11 on 4 of 9 shooting. Lindsey Black, a nice game off the bench. She hit all 6 free throws, finished with 8 points and 4 rebounds here this evening. And Emily Mesher had 2 for Ohio Northern. Other scores for BW, Katie Smith had 7. Riley Schill, we mentioned, had 8. Clara Lemon had 6 points and 6 rebounds. The 6 rebounds led the Jackets tonight. 5 for Sydney Clark, 3 for Tiffany Bentler, and 2 apiece for Casey Hughes, Megan Schubert, and Rachel Wommeldorf. Baldwin Wallace shot the basketball 19 out of 54. That's 35%, but they were better in the second half, connecting on 10 of 29 after the break. Ohio Northern shot 43%. They only hit 5 3-pointers tonight, but they only took 10. And when you let a team shoot 50% from beyond the 3-point line, combined with going 13 of 14 from the free throw line and 8 of 8 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter, that's the reason Ohio Northern came out with a win. They hit the shots when they needed to at the end of the game. So Baldwin Wallace loses a tight contest by 5, 60-55, and again they fall to 11-3 on the season. BW goes on the road, and it's just 2 days from now. They've got a much quicker turnaround than even what they are used to. Not Wednesday, Saturday this week, but Wednesday, Friday. They play at Otterbein Friday night at 7:30 before coming home for 4 in a row. Conference games against John Carroll, Muskingum, Heidelberg, and Marietta coming here in the next couple of weeks. Jeff, any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight, which was a fun game?
Definitely, we talked about it, the marquee game of the OAC women's side. This race is going to come down to the end. You know, this is going to be a very strong matchup in, I think it's February. I don't offhand remember the date. That's going to be an exciting game in Ada again. You never know with these teams. They might meet again in the semifinals. But overall, what a great performance for both teams. Shots went down for the Polar Bears. Even if they did come out cold for the start of both quarters in the second half, they know leadership brought them there. Can't knock anything that came out of the Yellow Jackets. Played strong defense. Just didn't hit those shots when they needed to go down. Take it away. Good win, or good win for the Polar Bears. Good loss, if you want to ever say that, for the Yellow Jackets. Now you got a really tough game on a team that's starting to come a little up again in the Otterbein Cardinals on a quick turnaround, like I said, and it's not easy to play in the Reich Center.
Well, the class of the OAC the last couple of years, and I guess I should be more accurate than that, really the last 2 decades, the class of the OAC has either been Ohio Northern or Baldwin Wallace, with the exception of a couple of seasons from John Carroll and Mount Union where they won conference titles. And by the looks of things tonight, these 2 teams appear to be among the top 2 again in conference. Final score, Ohio Northern 60, Baldwin Wallace 55. On behalf of our Sports Information Office and for Jeff Miller, I'm Brendan Gulick. So long from Ursprung Gymnasium. We'll see you on Saturday as the Otterbein Cardinals come to town to play the BW men. It's a 2 o'clock tip. We'll have pregame starting at 1:45. Have a great night, everybody.